anyway. I'm sure there are lots of people who are on the right who think he's an awfully nice guy, but I'm not one of them. You know, I'm entitled to my opinion as well. So,
and I have a podcast.
I have a podcast. Conquer the world. You know? We're both a bit upset because we're not exactly snowflakes, but we believe that you should treat humans, with some semblance of. Oh, sure, why not? What an interesting concept.
Wow.
Yes, treat them like a normal person. It wouldn't hurt.
Provide people with information so they can go back and think about it and think how they treat other people.
My God, you're a snowflake.
What? No, I just wish that...
I love it when people, because I get on the internet and I hammer home.
I've noticed.
I go hard. And people call me snowflake, and it's just like opening up the door for me. Okay, prick, let's go, and in you go, because I'm probably the last, I'm not a snowflake. People make assumptions, and you hammer them with those assumptions. You turn it around, belt it back in. We digress again. What were we talking about? The film.
Is this going to happen every time we talk about Australian films?
I'm really head up about this stuff tonight. That's all.
Dear me.
Yeah, and so are you, though.
Oh, look, it's been one of those weeks.
Bad week.
And you feel bad because you've got the next week's coming and you don't even think it's going to be any better.
We get to see the policies roll out now. That's going to be fun.
Oh, man. And you can't even, you've been bagging at other people's
Yes, and
leaders.
you thought it was bad then.
And having a bit of a chuckle and then realise now it's in your own backyard.
It's great, yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Now you just have to go, yes, I know, I'm sorry. Yep. No, I can say nothing to that. Yep. Anyway.
It's been the week of the three contenders.
Anyway, so The Sum of Us. Which has a very young Russell Crowe.
Very young.
What did you think of Russell Crowe's performance?
Wouldn't.
Didn't like it?
I think he still had a bit to learn, but you could see...
As a young fellow, he didn't do too bad.
He had a kind of relaxed... It was a very relaxed film in many ways, though, wasn't it? It was throwing on the ochre really hard.
I think it was for the contrast. So in this film, Jeff, who is played by Russell Crowe, and Harry, his father, is played by Jack Thompson, who's like the man from Snowy River.
Yep.
There's parts where they're just talking like mates, etc., whatever.
Yep.
And then they'll look directly at the camera and have a conversation with the audience about what's occurring in their minds, how they're thinking, like a Shakespearean actor would do on stage. And no one else notices they're having their own.
It's referred to as breaking the fourth wall.
I know, because when it first happened, Jack Thompson immediately looked at the camera and started talking. I went, "Is he supposed to be doing this?"
Yeah.
Because I don't think he actually spoke the first time he looked at the camera. It was almost like a look, and he rolled his eyes, and I thought, was he meant to do that? Surely that's a no-no. And then it went into a big speech.
You can't do that, my God!
But the first time it happened, I went, whoa. But then it gave you a real insight that you wouldn't normally see. And I thought, it's a little bit like they're trying to do a Shakespearean...
It's almost like they're humanising these people, isn't it?
But I think that's why Russell Crowe's character, you don't want to. You just want to see them as casual people until you're actually seeing the insight into what is happening in their lives,
their motivations.
That's it.
Yes, and once you understand a person's motivation, it takes away the villainy.
I know, but without it, the movie would have failed. But it really made it for me. The contrast between the normal and them giving their monologues, I thought was really good.
Yep, no, well said.
That's why I didn't think Russell Crowe's performance was wooden, because I think he was supposed to be this contrast. I mean, for what it was.
Well, we are watching him from a very young Russell Crowe, and we know what he develops into, and there's people who hate Russell Crowe.
Yes.
Poor mate. Look, he has done some great stuff. Like, for example, Gladiator, which I thought he did a very good job in that.
Well, that's his iconic film, isn't it?
Well, it is. It is. And look, he's still got a lot of skills to learn, but he's got most of it there in place. I felt like most of it was there, but it was a clunky film, particularly at the start of it, I felt. Did you find it was kind of...
It was just while you worked out how the director and the writer and the actors are telling
the
story.
Not talking about the plot, I'm just talking about the performances.
No, that's what I mean. At the start, I was a little bit confused how they're telling it. It was only maybe a third of the way in where I sort of went, oh, now I know how it's working. So
I think I'm going to get shot by every Australian who listens to this, but I think that Jack Thompson in the film, it's certainly in the first part of it, was kind of trading on people loving him. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think he was... No, I just don't think he was particularly strong in the first half of the film. Once he'd lost the ability to speak and he was just hitting his button with the stroke, I thought he played a stroke victim quite well. Okay.
I found the bit where he was trying to be that dad.
Oh, yeah,
I found that part really irritating.
Yeah, it was painful. Thank you. Yes.
But otherwise, I thought his relationship with Russell, Jeff.
He didn't have to be his dad. He could have just been a friend, because, essentially that's the role he was trying to play. But it was interesting that they did explore homosexuality from a generational standpoint, and I think they were kind of trying to explain why a person is gay. Did you get that feeling? Like, because the grandmother was gay and...
I think that's why he was explaining why he was gay. I don't think they were making it a broad...
I don't think people really knew at that stage of the game. And I still think to this day that they probably are still, thrusting around in the dark, to speak.
I think... No, don't say that.
Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
I think they were just giving him a backstory.
Yeah.
But I actually thought, the grandmother, I liked those stories.
Yep.
That when they would go back in time. I thought they were very strong.
Yeah. And there were really poignant moments.
I know.
Go on, you tell me your favourite poignant moment.
No, the part where his grandmother and her partner are being separated.
Yes.
Because, they're getting older now, they need help.
Yep.
And the families just went, they're not a married couple, it doesn't matter, she can just go away to her home. And I thought, you horrible people doing this to them. They've been together for 40 years.
And that's why it was important to have it was not important to have the debate. We should have just simply had our politicians with enough backbone to be able to put through equal marriage in the first place. Now, I know some people are going to disagree and they think that was probably a good idea for having a debate and everything like that, but I think for the amount of vilification that went on in our population last year, I can't justify it in my own mind. But
it's interesting that we're watching this sort of movie now with so many
these
topics.
Which shows you we haven't moved forward very far at all, have we?
No.
And Australia is a little bit guilty of that. We are...
What's this 24-year-old film?
A very conservative society. Yes, that's why we fit in so well.
Was there anything in particular, though, that you liked or disliked?
There was lots of things about it. I sobbed in certain sections. I did. I'm a very sentimental person, as I've said
That's
before.
Coming across very clearly.
Well, did you not know that beforehand? Is this something new for you?
No, the open sobbing is just very new.
I make sure, and I am very careful. I personally... May I speak about this for a few minutes?
Go for it. I think this one's
First of all,
like that.
People say there's no such thing as a bad thing for men to cry. Okay? They say that. And yet, at the same time, if I was to walk down the street and openly start sobbing to somebody, the connotations upon that would be quite extreme.
Particularly
the way I look as a human being. People would not expect that, and I think there'd be more than a little bit of apprehension as to what kind of substances I was taking. But having said that, and it is still a very masculine society. Now, to say to men that you can't cry, okay, is both damaging and unhealthy. But at the same time, you still need men not to be sooks. And I know that's... I'm sorry, I grew up in the 70s, okay? So don't expect me to be super woke, and I'm not a snag or anything like that. I don't pretend to be. I don't fit. I'm not going to try and be something that I'm not. I am me. That's who I am. But I was brought up in a very masculine environment, and You certainly did not cry, and my father would often say, if you want something to cry about, I'll bloody give it to you. And he'd pull the bloody, the belt, the fan belt that he used as the whip, and he'd start laying into us. And then we would cry, and then we'd learn our lesson.
Oh, that just sounds really horrible.
But that's the attitude. Like, he's thankfully dead now, but he was like, a woodcutter, and he came from an even harder point. And I'm sure he was trying to be as woke as he possibly could, but he still knew that men had to attain a certain level of toughness. Do you know what I mean? Mm. Now, because I'm a physically large and strong person, like physically, I don't have to worry about people casting judgments on my masculinity, men or women. There are very few people who would want to pick a fight with me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to prove it. I'm one of those guys that's big enough that they can just sail
Except for
through
people
life
when they get to know you, they can go, "Are you crying, Paul?"
Well,
no,
I'm not. But it gives me a certain freedom that I don't think that a lot of guys get.
No.
And that way I can sit there and I can talk about this stuff, whereas a lot of guys I don't feel would be able to. Maybe the new generation, like under 25s, who have been brought up, and I believe brought up quite properly, and I think there's a lot of value in that. Mm. But at the same time, I think when the chips are down, I don't know if they necessarily have the resilience in their character to be able to pull through hard times. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this generation goes.
Yeah.
They may well have to, the way things are going, because, my generation's, certainly not doing anything great at the moment. Thanks, guys. So in regards to the crying, for me personally, I don't cry in front of other people.
So you watch these films on your own? Yourself?
Yeah, well, occasionally I get caught out. Occasionally I get caught, but I have the self-control that I can sit there and it'll just be a single or a couple of tears streaming down the cheek, and that's fine.
There are some emotional tugs in this film.
There are terribly emotional bits, but when a good old sob movie, I make sure I'm on my own, and then and because it's important to be able to release that stuff, particularly when you have to control it for as long a period, and I think it's emotionally healthy.
I can see in this film where a couple of people would not want to watch it based solely on the fact where they would go, is there gay scenes in it? And you'd have to say, well, yes, there are a couple of small ones, and that's it. I'm not watching it. Yep. But I mean,
the worst is that two men kiss. Oh my God!
I don't think it's done in a distasteful manner.
It's not,
or in your face or anything. And it was part of the storyline.
And it's even done in the sense of burgeoning love.
Yes. I actually thought it was shot really well.
Yes, it is.
I mean, there's other films you've seen where they're depicting gay people and it's not shot well and you just go, oh, that's disgusting. This is done in a really lovely way.
Yes, but I'm sure there will be many a person who will watch it and they will still be freaked out about it. Even though by today's standards,
it's pretty mild.
Very mild. But, you have those sort of people that go through life with blinkers on their, on their minds. Mm. But look, okay, so it's got to get a relatively high score for me, for the simple fact... it achieves what it sets out to do.
Oh my gosh, let's talk again.
Oh, we're doing this every week.
Yes.
Are we doing this every week? Yes. Seriously. What does it try and do?
Oh, God.
No, what does it try and do?
Entertain.
Entertain, well, maybe. But I think fundamentally it was put together with a narrative in mind to broaden people's perspective about people being, whether or not it's a moral issue about homosexuality and how we should behave around people who are trying to go through their lives in homosexual ways.
Including people for just being people.
Sorry?
It's to include people for just being people. I mean, these people want the same thing. The father wants to find a relationship and the son wants to find a relationship.
They're both in the same boat. Yep.
One's heterosexual and one's homosexual, but they're both looking for the same thing.
They are, and that wasn't a very... And that's why I like doing this with you, because you look at things from different perspectives than I do. That was staring me right in the face, but at the same time I didn't pick up on it. Do you know what I mean? I did, but I was aware that they were both doing it, but I didn't make that correlation in my mind that they're both on identical
paths.
And because you're more logical, whereas I'm...
This is really